Hello, this is Wyland with the FPV podcast, where we talk about the FPV community and everything we do with our radio-controlled machines. Before we get into the show, I just want to very quickly touch upon our Patreon giveaway. This is a monthly giveaway that we're going to be doing for our Patreon supporters. So we're going to be giving away a lot of great products. So if you're interested in supporting the podcast and being entered into the giveaway, please go over to fpvpodcast.com. That's fpvpodcast.com. Thank you so much for supporting the FPV podcast.
Happy birthday, Elvin.
Happy birthday, Elvin. Way to ruin it, Lundy. Way to ruin it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's FPV podcast. We have two jokesters on from Team White Goat. They're great people, but you're probably going to get into a lot of arguments and a lot of funny stories. So be prepared for 2 hours of very amusing content. But before we start, Elvin, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to be the boring one. But I just want to say I'm going to be 50 tomorrow. And on Saturday, my multi-GP group here in PDX Races, is hosting a little birthday party for me at one of the local campsites. And I'm kind of impressed because I never asked for nothing, you know. Anyway, but I'm going to be 50. Shit! Nobody believed that I get to be this age.
Are they going to have a seniors race there?
They should.
Yeah, but he flies good.
He does fly good. No, yeah. I'm just joking. He does fly good. Happy birthday, Elvin, you big old man.
All right, let's talk to the boys because we got some stuff going on in the business.
All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and introduce Team White Goat. Zombie Diesel, please introduce yourself.
I'm Zombie Diesel, live in Memphis, Tennessee, member of Team White Goat, and I'm on the board of 901 FPV, and I've been flying for about 3 years now. Working like a dog this year, but I'm going to pick it up later in the year for sure.
He's always fun to talk to, by the way. Anytime you're at a good FPV event, just go check out Zombie. He's always got an amusing story and the loudest voice you've ever heard.
That's right, Dad.
All right, Lundy, what do you got?
Hey, I disagree with the loudest voice you've ever heard because I get that all the time, that I am loud everywhere I go. So I am Lundy FPV, president of 901 FPV, and a member of Team White Goat. I do not want to not mention the rest of our members. We got Droner, Lucas Dearborn, Ben Eischen, which a lot of guys know him as Bengineering Labs. If you've bought the smoke inhibitor from RDQ, that's Ben Eischen. John Trent from Rotorius FPV. We got Ross Finn and Adrian Adams, which are a couple of our new members who are fast. They just participated with us down at the Mayhem team race, and those guys are fast. Ross was from a chapter up in Washington State, I believe, last year.
A couple of beautiful men, too.
Yes. One of them has a flowing lock of hair.
I mean, really, it is. If you run your fingers through it, it's amazing.
It's beautiful.
It's that Thor hair. He's got that Thor hair.
He uses pert most of the time. And
he does use pert.
Yeah.
Don't catch him in front of a fan. Don't catch him in front of a fan. You'll swear you're looking at Cindy Crawford.
He's got a mole, everything. He's got it all. To continue on with that, we got a couple other guys. Joe Ferguson, Supernova is his handle. Dr. Napier, Daniel Napier, we call him Doctor. And the big rig, Brandon Brown, and then Junior Winjet. But I just wanted to cover them. You know, they're here in spirit too with us.
Man,
lots of fast, capable pilots.
You got a big team, but you also got a very good team, and you're always fun to hang out with. So before we get into the show, Team White Goat, Lundy, give me a good introduction to that team.
Team White Goat, the thing I always like to tell people is we may not be the fastest, usually around second or third, but we will be the loudest, and people will know that we were there. We are obnoxious. We are loud. Yep. You know us on the flight line because you'll hear our certain scream on the flight line. Alec Zombie knows exactly what I'm talking about. You will hear it, and that is what we do. We're obnoxious, but we have a great time, and we're always just there to party. That was louder than I thought it would be. We apologize to your speakers. Team White Goat. It is obviously a play on.
The wheel off the side of the road, man, and driving down a hill somewhere.
Somebody's gonna have a bad time driving in their car after that. That is what you will hear on the flight line when Team White Goat is at the event. That is exactly what you hear, and it is the greatest thing ever because you're in the goggles, and you may have 2 or 3 Team White Goat pilots in that 8, and it is hilarious to hear it for the first time because you got 2 or 3 guys next to you and you hear them both just chuckling. And it's kind of psyching them out. They know that we're here, and that's kind of what we do. But to talk about Team White Goat, the name obviously came from a play on Team Black Sheep. Alex can kind of explain it a little bit better than me, I think, sometimes. But basically, Team Black Sheep is pretty ubiquitous in this hobby. Everybody runs Team Black Sheep gear. Across the board, everybody has something. We have stuff.
On the way to the first MDX is when we were talking about a team name, and we had a whole bunch of like Team UBAD, Get FPV, White Goat, all this stuff that we were just playing on, and we decided to consolidate it, and so we came up with Team White Goat. It was funny. The event was sponsored by Team Black Sheep at the time. And it was one of the biggest races that we had been to yet was the first MDX. So that's what we showed up as. And it's stuck hard.
And funny thing is, though, in both MDX events, we still managed to misspell Team Zombie twice. And that's become tradition now.
Zombie Diesel.
We're going to continue to misspell it. So the last person that we had on was Shannon, and Shannon was talking about the team race that he held out there in Louisiana, the Mayhem race, and Team White Goat was actually there competing. So tell us about team racing. What do you guys like? Is that a passion? Is that just something for you guys to get together and just have fun? What do you think of team racing in general?
Personally, I think it's the most fun racing there is out there, and I think it's for a spectator, it is the most exciting race. I think it is the future of drone racing, if I were to guess. I like personal racing, I do, but team racing is nonstop action for X amount of hours, for however many hours you're going to run it or however many laps you're going to run it. If you're going to run a 24-hour race like the Mayhem 3.0 that's going to come next year, which is going to happen, I swear to you, Shannon, it's going to happen. That kind of stuff. I think it's important for the advancement of the sport because I think team racing is just more action. Instead of having 15 minutes of downtime while you're running between heats, it's nonstop, and it just continuously goes. And we love it. I mean, we have a good time. I think it's a good team building kind of stuff.
It gives people who have flown together for a while a chance to show coordination. I think that at least all of us and a lot of people who enter these team races, everybody gets past a certain skill point, right? You get to that point where everyone's within 3 or 4 seconds of each other, which 3 or 4 seconds in a heads up race is a ton. But when you have like good coordination between your team, you've worked out a game plan, and the rule set is done correctly. That's another big one. The rule set makes it an even playing ground.
Agreed.
Then it gives people like us, who again, we're the loudest, but not necessarily fastest, but we can go out and really compete against some of the bigger names who, they may just show up on race day because they're fast and fail sort of in the team aspect.
Right.
Agreed.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it's one of those things where you really want to have a cohesive team, which means you want a team that gets along with each other. And that's one thing that I've seen throughout all the times that I've seen you at events is that you guys get along really well, which means you're pretty coordinated.
And the wives get along too. The women, your support people get along too.
Wife goat.
Wife goat.
Right.
That's terrible. All right.
Ladies.
He's correct, though. Our girls do. They support us a ton. So I will give them credit for that for sure. They definitely come to our events, deal with what we're doing, whether we're just, completely focused on racing at the time, but they're there and they're supporting us. I mean, even helping us run races and stuff like that. So for sure, wife goat.
Wife goat. There we go. So what is your what is your strategy when you're racing these 200 lap races or 3-hour races? Is there a specific strategy that you guys go in with?
Man, it depends a lot on the rule set. Again, as that starts to standardize, I think you're going to see a lot more strategy. But really, for us, the thing that's helped us the most in the past has been a really good pit master. So somebody that is like, okay, Lundy, you're up next. Superfly, you're going after, you're in the hole, whatever. Like, I think that coordination and just helping everyone remember where their place is in line. And then, a good strategy for retrieval and launch of the next quad also. As well as, we've been using really good FPV gear with Immersion RC. And I think that the ability to have clear video when there's multiple people plugging in here and there, sometimes people mess up and they plug in too early. That's been a huge help to us as well.
Yeah, definitely. So who's the team captain when you actually have these races? What?
He's pointing at someone. I don't. But you're above me. You're above me right now, so I don't know who you're pointing to. So yeah. I don't know. I typically take that. It's just because I've ran so many other events and I'm loud and I can communicate well. Our big I would say our big coordination thing that we did at the last race, at the last Mayhem 2.0, was we had microphones and we had radios. So we looked like a bunch of secret agents. It was awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. That really helped us. So in that situation, everybody was kind of a team captain. So I'll say, whoever was able to talk at the time, like when I'm flying, obviously I can't talk. So someone else is running the pit. And that was really good to have a communication link between all of us that we didn't have to yell at each other. Even if you're way out in the field retrieving a quad, you could communicate back, hey, I'm up next or whatever, and that kind of stuff. So that really helped us. And
it's pretty good too that we all fly so much together, and like you should see whenever we run our practices, right? Like we all get together and it's always bang bang, and so there's a lot of communication even there, and I think we kind of build on that. Like especially the core group. Me and Lundy, we can basically just look at each other and know exactly what each other is thinking because we're good together.
Well, it's true.
So,
You're looking at each other's eyes.
That's right. So, I think that we most of us have been flying together now or at least 3-4 of us have been flying together now for about 3 years. And so it's we kind of have an intuition about what's happening, and it helps out.
All right, son. Don't be cheating on your wife, okay? That's all I'm going to say to you. Okay, sorry. Next thing online. Okay, so as team captain,
let the rumor mill fly.
Yeah.
Why? Oh,
that's funny. Okay.
It's so funny because it's become a meme within our group.
The 24-hour deal. I actually really like this idea, and I am pro trying it. I think Shannon is crazy for even thinking that he wants to do it because, he is going to be so dead after that. He's going to be, completely wiped. But
you ever seen that guy at races? He's a machine.
He is a machine. You're right. Now, but, what prompted this? What prompted the desire to go 24 hours, to go Le Mans style, in which you're just going to be racing, 24 hours straight? That's tough.
Exactly what you just described was Le Mans. I mean, a lot of people consider what we're doing as a race, as a long-term race and team racing. And I just figure push it, see what we can do. I would love personally to participate in a 24-hour race. And we were at Shannon's first Mayhem. We were at MDX 1.0. We were at the IO team race. We will do it if it is hosted. We will be there. And I just think it would be a blast to try to even try to do a 24-hour race. I don't have all the logistics worked out. I just want to do it.
Yeah, and I think too that what we're really doing with I mean, almost every race now, because this is still so such a young sport or event that anybody that does something new,
Yep.
it becomes sort of a testing ground for future formats for races and stuff. And somebody's got to do it. Somebody's going to do it. So I think that if anybody's going to do it, Shannon and those guys down in Louisiana, they're way more than qualified to do that.
Don't forget Adrian down there with live streaming it, because he does a fantastic job and always has.
Absolutely.
And I think people would want to tune into that and see where we're going with that.
Yeah, and you got all day to tune in.
You do have all day to tune in.
I'm seriously pressing Shannon for this, for a 24-hour race. He keeps trying to like push it down to a 12-hour race, and I don't agree with it. I think 24 hours are bust, and that's what I want. I mean, I'll be there for the 12-hour race that's going to happen in November, I guess. But seriously, Mayhem 3.0 should be a 24-hour race, because Team White Goat will be there for a 24-hour event. You're going to have like 8 people. I mean, I don't really consider it that crazy. Like at the end of the last Mayhem 2.0, I mean, it was like, I think it was 3 hours. I could have kept going. I mean, we all wanted to keep racing. I think we could have done, 6 hours, 6 or 12 hours. I think we could have done it. It's a long race, and it may need to be that you have to have a 12-person team for the event, maybe a 10-person team. But I think it's definitely possible and definitely doable.
I got a question. So, like, with all these team races and the runs, what are y'all getting per lap out on the average?
It all depends on the course. I mean, usually team race courses are pretty even or pretty easy. They're usually, I mean, Shannon's courses aren't that easy, but they're easy enough. They're lifted now, which is awesome. They're lifted, 2-story gates, so you can run out there. It still is terrifying when you have to go out there and get a quad, but it is much safer than it used to be, which was we put the gates on the ground and you have to run past that. That was terrifying. The last one was a lot better because they were elevated. But
the first one was crazy.
Yeah.
No helmets.
I don't want to do that again. The first team race that I ever saw was MDX 1.0, and that was when I remember seeing Y out there in like a football helmet and some pads and all this gear, and he's crawling his way to the next quad that crashed. And it was just, I mean, I remember specifically like looking out there, and I think we connected eyes, and I was just like, I would never want to be that person doing that job. And it wasn't 3 months later that we were out there basically doing the same thing, retrieving quads, but with no helmet, nothing, just out there in the middle of the field. So I definitely enjoy elevated gates. The easier the course. I mean, I think with a 24-hour course, you could put a couple turns in there, and it's just basically a pretty easy course. I mean, it doesn't have to be regional qualifier.
Yeah, here's the funny thing. No matter how simplified the gates, people will find a way to crash, and the quad will end up in the most terrible place, and you're like, I have to go where to retrieve what?
It always makes it interesting.
It always makes it interesting. But you know what? I am pro 24 hours. Elvin will be down there to stream it for 24 hours. Good luck, Elvin, and we'll see how it ends up. Right? Isn't that right, Elvin?
Yeah, you'll be holding the camera.
Damn. Okay. I tell you what, if he does do 24 hours, we do want to be down there. So, keep pushing. And then tell Shannon we'll be down there to help him out. Let's go ahead and keep moving on. Obviously, the team race is really important, but right now we're in the middle of the multi-GP qualifiers. You guys, you keep on saying you're not the fastest, but that's not true considering how many people are being qualified right now. So tell me about Team White Goat and how it's going on in the qualifying races.
Well, I can tell you right now in our region, I'm looking at it right now. We got, I think we got 2 guys in the top 25, and we got 4 in the top 50 in our region. We've hosted our qualifier already. We're still early in the season, obviously. I mean, I think we have 8 weeks left. Ours is coming up pretty soon, our actual qualifier, but we do have 4 guys up in the top 50 at least that I can see. I mean, I'm just doing a quick scan over. All of those guys are from Memphis, and we're ready to rock,
No, you guys are fast, and you guys are in a tough region too because you're in the South where everybody flies year round. So it's been an interesting year for watching that. What do you think of the regional qualifier race? I mean, that's a big track in my opinion. Has that been a real change for you guys?
The final or the qualifier?
The qualifier.
I that one's not that big of a surprise to me. The final, I would say, is a much bigger race. I'm excited to try that one out, which we're building it right now.
I think that one of the notable things about the size of it is that the people who are getting, like I think Chief set the record the other day at our race, and on 6S low KV even still died out like at the end of the race. So I think that the tracks are getting bigger, and because people are running either larger batteries or going to 6S, and it's making for good racing. I personally would like to see some smaller, more technical tracks. I mean, I realize for a qualifier track, it doesn't need to be super technical so that people can get out there and actually put down times. But I'm excited to see some tracks, hopefully like the Worlds race from last year, as well as the International Open Worlds race, as well as the International Open Spec race. I think that's like the perfect size and technicality, has some fast areas. But the qualifier track, this one seems pretty typical for what it was last year as well.
I think it's a great course. I love this course this year. I'm not opposed to every different type of track, to be honest with you. I've been talking with Boudin Balls, which I think his actual handle is NM Grower, but we call him Boudin Balls. Boudin Balls. About he does kind of a DRL style race, a one lap and done, and it's a big course, and it's about a minute and 15, and you're done, and that's it. But I think that's a cool thing to try too. I like all sorts of type of racing. I want to do it all.
Yeah. I can get with that.
By the way, shout out to NM Grower. He was actually at my house the other day. Came up from Texas to Memphis for a visit, and was at my house, and he was showing me all of the plants that he grows. Nandina domestica. Anyway, shout out.
There you go. Shout out.
Roger.
Now, do you guys think that, like, as MultiGP continues to grow, that they're kind of growing their tracks to the point where it's really hard for the chapters to actually produce these tracks? Because like the qualifying tracks are kind of hard because I think the longest side is about 300 feet. That's a football field right there. So I don't know if like every chapter has that much size. Have you guys had difficulty, or you guys have like land to spare?
We have land to spare. We're part of a AMA club, the Millington Barnstormers here in Memphis. So we have a giant field that we get to play with. It's actually, we can fit the final in there, no problem. We could have fit the old final before they did the version 2, which they made it a little bit smaller because not all courses were going to be able to fit it, or not all venues. The biggest issue is always, gate materials and all that kind of stuff. That's the only issue that we've had. We're having to build, I think, 5 hurdles and 3 gates. We're gonna practice the regional final course. It's just what we do. We always build the courses that MultiGP releases. So, but I could see a lot of places or a lot of locations having issues with hosting such a thing. Now with the final, I get it. They wanted to go big with that because they're only going to host 6 of them, and that makes sense to me. I think that MultiGP is coming to host it. They're going to bring all the pipe, all the gates, all that kind of stuff. And I think that's the good thing about them actually hosting it, is that MultiGP can bring that. Whereas last year when they hosted a final, they said, all right, here's all the stuff. We're shipping you the flag material. You have to go up to Home Depot, get all the EMT and do it yourself. But I think with MultiGP coming to put it on, I think Adrian and Shannon are probably going to be there to, do the live streaming and all that kind of stuff. And, Scully's going to be at each one of them. So I think this year is going to be the biggest year for MultiGP, if I were to guess.
Okay.
That's just from the regional series.
I would agree with that.
And I also I've been thinking about and would like to see, and I've seen some people online doing it, but actually scaling it down and running micros on it. So like you have a micro sized fit to scale track, and like for us, we all fly very similar micros. We're sponsored by Rotorex, and so
Rotorius FPV
all have very similar micros. So we could do it based on like scale to speed and everything, and get a pretty good indicator of what the track's going to feel like without having to lay out an entire large course.
That's actually an awesome idea.
At the same time, we're laying out the large course too.
Yeah, I'm just saying that for those chapters that are having issues, or for those chapters that maybe don't have the space, but they have a bunch of guys that are also racing micros. Which, if people are not racing micros as well, then they're missing out. Anybody who's held out this long, it's time to get into it. The technology's there now.
They are fast.
That's another option for people that I would like to see explore in the future for sure.
I think that's an awesome idea. Go ahead, Alvin.
It's lots of speed, man. It's shocking when you really think about it. We've all talked about this over time in the last, I would say, 10 years. And there's talk about the battery capacity and the output, spiking up another 50 to 100 Cs. But where batteries going to become more capacity and the same size we have now. So, like, can you imagine a 1300 that's supposed to do like 2700 milliamps and deliver something like a true 250 amps 250 amps output? But that time hasn't come yet. So the micros are.
I think that what we're getting down to, and one of the ideas that I had a while back, and actually I sent this off to Chris Thomas and Joe Scully and a couple other guys, is we're getting down to wattage, right? Like if we could figure out a way to not match cell count by cell count, but instead match the wattage output of quads, then like you would be able to scale tracks in a way that people would be able to finish the races and still be competitive. And you can do that with split times. Like, there are ways that you can scale a track with split times so that even the fastest guys, they may get one lap more, but if they HV charge their battery and kill it at the end, they're not going to get 2 laps more. So it makes for a more even race. But it's got to be measured with wattage. We've got to get away from this voltage and current, only looking at that. We need to put those two together. That way, people who are still running 4S, they can do it, and people who run 6S and the like, at least until there's this, really transient shift with the actual cell count of the batteries.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what Bumpy did at our qualifier just a couple weeks ago, Bumpy only flies pretty much micros. He
2S.
He came out with a 2-inch or 3-inch. I can't remember what he was flying, but he got 6 laps at our qualifier 2 times. He didn't get his third, but he did get 2 of them at 2 minutes and 20 seconds
on 2S.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah. He is a fast little bugger.
And that's a testament too to where the motors have gone with the these little micros and stuff. Rotorex is coming out with the V2s of their 1105Bs, with their 1107s, with their 1404s. Their Rotorex right now, again, one of our sponsors, shout out. They're doing some crazy stuff with micro gear, and the prices are coming down as well on all of the micro stuff. So it's getting to a point now where you can really, if you take the time to properly spec out your build, you can be competitive with all these different classes of drones, even against people who are running 6S, 5-inch, whatever it may be.
Right.
No, I would agree with that. The only thing you have to watch out for when you go micros is wind. If it's really windy out, it'll really push you around. But other than that, if it's a nice calm day, yeah, micro, there's a lot of advantages to it.
We've had some strange wind this year in Memphis. It's It's been 19, 20 miles an hour, and we raced during that. So we've been trying to practice it.
Man, that's tough right there because that'll push you around.
You try to do that, Mike. You try to do that regional qualifier course in less than 20 seconds in a 19, 20 mile an hour wind day with gusts. It's fun.
Right into a pole. Right into a pole. All those 10 gates.
Yep.
All right, so let's talk about an upcoming event that you guys are going to be at so that anybody wants to meet Team White Goat, they can. International Open. What are you guys planning for that? Anything special?
Drone bus.
Drone bus. We're taking definitely a caravan again like we did last year. We'll at least have 3 or 4 RVs going up this year.
3 or 4 RVs? Man. Holy cow.
Last year.
Yeah, dude.
Last year we had a whole corner of the RV park to ourselves, and man, it was a blast. It was a riot, really. We had no pun intended. We had a great time with that.
I'm sure. If MultiGP is not going to host a regional or a micro race at that event, we plan on bringing the gear to host a micro race one of the nights there.
Yep.
So we definitely want to do that because MultiGP currently doesn't see enough people doing micros, which I think is a mistake because I think more people have micros this year than they did last year. And so we'll definitely be doing something.
Look at the Facebook groups. I mean, they've grown, just exploded in the last couple of months. You know, couple of them have doubled in size. So I think micro.
If they don't release that, if they don't eventually, come around and say that they're going to do a micro race, then we'll have the white goat race over in the goat pen for sure.
Yep,
the goat pen race.
It's the RV park.
Goat pen.
The goat pen race. And that's it.
And if you're coming to the IO, which I think everybody should come to the IO. If you didn't go last year, come this year. It is a blast, man. It is almost like. I think Chris Thomas called it the only FPV festival. And that's what it was, man. We had so much fun, and I cannot wait for this year.
Definitely. I agree with you on that. And
we'll be there with goat bells on.
Yeah, if you can't see us, you'll hear us.
You will definitely hear both.
We'll also be pulling the golf cart right up to the flight line as we did last year.
Oh, man. I got to take pictures of that. You guys are funny. Oh, man. Did it feel like it was the entire community there? Because that's what it felt like. It was one of the only events where it felt like everybody was there. I mean, like international, local, even freestyle guys.
Yeah, I've got a funny story about that, actually. I was standing in line next to BMS Thomas, who won Worlds last year, won the spec race also. Standing there talking to this kid, talking about quads or whatever. He's asking me about mine. I'm asking about, he was talking about his or whatever. He's like, oh, Zombie Diesel, that's a cool name. I was like, yeah, cool. And then, I knew of BMS Thomas from last year, but I had no clue what he looked like. And we're just sitting there talking, and then he wins the whole thing. And I was like, oh, man. Oh, that's BMS Thomas. Oh, okay, yeah. So everybody was there, and it was so much fun meeting everybody. I mean, that's more than half of the fun of going to these events is just the number of characters that are there. Everybody, well, I should say most people are really inclusive, and they want to talk about gear. They want to meet everybody else that's racing, and I hope to see a lot more of that too. I hope that the community doesn't outgrow its own skin and get exclusive.
100%.
Definitely. 100% on that. Hey, we look forward to seeing you guys there because we definitely want to attend there as well. And it seems like you guys are coming in droves, which is pretty awesome. And I would agree with you on the whole micros thing because if you want to get into FPV right now, that's the way to go. It's much more affordable. The batteries are cheaper. The quads are cheaper. You're going, I don't know, you have less momentum, which means you tend to break less things. Do you agree with me on that? Do you break less on your micros?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the gear, but yeah.
I break less stuff, but I was also told that it was a really cheap way to get into it, and it has so far not been that. That's happened.
I think that's a testament. It's a testament to how much fun it is, man. I mean, it's so much fun being able to rip around like your backyard and as if it's a full size track. I mean,
don't get me wrong, it's a blast, but I mean, we just hosted a micro race this past weekend, and I destroyed my micro the first lap up.
Hey, where did we host that race?
It was a garage, and I only had one, so now I have to have 2 micros to actually finish a race. Is the problem?
Yeah, what you hit? Did you hit a concrete wall?
I did hit a concrete. Well, what happened was we had flown micros on the regional qualifier track the week before, and during that, it was too slow. My camera angle was set at an angle that I was not comfortable with on the regional qualifier course, so I decided to hacksaw part of my carbon off of my quad and tilt my camera angle up to 70 degrees. Well, in the garage, I decided to run that. Well, I got out there and I was like, this is way too fast. And I found a wall real quick.
While we're talking about micros, these are the frames that a lot of us are running. This is the CB122 from Rotorius FPV. I've got the Rotorex 1105B motors on here, and these. I mean, this is the type of thing, and you can tell the difference.
That's also known as the Crybaby 2.5. I think they were talking about it just last week on the FPV show.
Yeah,
dude, it's a micro alien essentially. It's amazing.
Yeah, the prototype, the prototype that me and John Trent came up with is actually a scale version of the micro alien. I mean, we just scaled the whole thing down and only did 4 standoffs, and then it eventually evolved into this. And if you're looking for something that's a tank and honestly not that much heavier than some of the other gear that people are running, these things they're great, man.
There you go. Where can you get those things?
RotoriousFPV.com.
There you go.
Make sure you choose the if you're in the U.S., make sure you choose the U.S. warehouse.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of important.
You don't want to order from the EU.
Yep.
Is this from experience, Lundy?
Well, the U.S. warehouse is John Trent. That's Superfly. He's a member of Team White Goat, so he'll ship it out for you personally.
Oh, nice. There you go.
I'll make sure he includes a lock of Zombie Diesel's hair with every order.
That's right.
Zombie has hair? I don't believe that. All right.
Look at those locks.
Oh, my God. Put the hat back on. Jesus.
All right, let's go ahead and move into some gear stuff because this team, not only are they fast, not only do they race, not only are they loud, they also have a lot of gear that they test, and they're coming out with some new motors. Zombie, what do you got for me? I want to see this.
All right, so we have these are the Team White Goat 2207 1751 KV. These are manufactured by Brotherhobby, and they're phenomenal. These are our 6S low KV motors, obviously in pink, the best pink of the ones that have come out. And I think that with these weigh what, 31 grams? Is that right, or 30 grams?
They're the same as all the other Brotherhobby, the 2207, 20 from the 1722 to the 1750. It's all the exact same motor. There's
so
no
what
difference.
Do you think of those motors? Have they been very durable and great lasting for you guys?
Well, here's the thing. We all ran, about 4 of us were running the R5s, which that's what these are, the R5s. So they're essentially if you know the Hyperlight low KV motors, the exact same thing, the 2207.
Oh,
so that's what
no. These have EZO bearings. These have better bearings. We got the upgraded bearings on these.
Oh, nice. Yeah, there you go.
Hyperlights are running NMB or Japanese NSK. I can't remember.
Well, I think for the Hyperlight 2207s, they're also R5s, from my understanding of them. But we were all running the R5s for a couple months while 6S was being tested, and I was thrilled with these things. The problem was you couldn't buy them anywhere. There was nowhere to get them. So we after the first qualifier that we went to, we were all sold on them, and we all talked about it. We were like, all right, let's do this. Let's do a custom order, and we all did it. And we have some for sale. That's just because we had to hit a minimum order quantity, so we're selling some of them. They're completely compatible with anything that you're currently running, but in the 1750 range, that's a Brotherhobby. But I have been very pleased with these. The only ones that I've destroyed is because I've hit some steel, and steel. I've never met a motor that steel doesn't destroy. So they've been solid contenders to me. I just swapped out my whole frame to them, but I now have 6 extra motors that I didn't have previously.
I'm noticing a trend, Lundy, between you and concrete and steel poles. I'm just saying. I'm just telling you.
Hey, man, if you're gonna crash well.
That's right.
Crash well.
Crash well.
Where can we get these motors? Where can we get the Team White Goat motors?
Check out our Facebook group, Team White Goat. It's just a Facebook group. We have a link in there right now. We don't really have a store for these because really we're just trying to sell what we had to do for minimum order quantity. That's pretty much it. We're not really a reseller or anything like that.
What's the price?
$20.
Oh, that's a good price.
$20 a motor?
Yeah, R5s are typically $25 retail. We're just, like I said, we're just trying to cover our costs on these. So they're $20. You can order, I think, if you order 4, we charge like 50 cents on shipping or something. And if you order more than that, it's I think a cup like 50 cents more or something. I don't really know.
Yeah, and if you don't want to order them, at a minimum, go and read the description of the motor. It's phenomenal.
It is phenomenal. That is the best description. There's a little mention of like Chris Thomas in there. I think there's some FinalGlide. It's beautiful. It's glorious.
Classic Team White Goat style. I see how it is. Okay. Well, we'll just link that as our FPV podcast description. Oh, no, that's a terrible idea.
Oh, yes.
Never mind. I did not say.
Yes.
Yes. At least the first paragraph. Jesus.
All right.
Yeah.
We will do that. We will do that and get in trouble with everybody. This is how it's going to be. All right. Obviously, you guys, when you run as a team, you go through a lot of gear. And one of the things that you've actually come across, and it's not discussed much because Crossfire is very well and beloved, but there has been issues that you guys come across. What's that all about?
Well, okay. Just to clarify, not in specific like issues with Crossfire, but a lot of people are going to 900 megahertz, right? A lot of people are going to it. And one of the things I want to clear up is a misconception that a lot of people have is that it decreases the latency. It does decrease latency if you're flying by yourself. But when you put 6 pilots in the air and they're all on 900, then you're getting very similar latency as you would with an RXSR FreeSky on D8, specifically on D8. Which, by the way, public service announcement, if anybody's flying FreeSky and they have their controller set to D16, you're at like 24 milliseconds of latency. And if you put it on D8, it's 12. It's literally cuts the latency in half. And it's not like people miss that. They sleep on it a lot.
I will say there's been some tests, and there's actually not much of a difference between the two.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's actually not a difference in the test. But I mean,
we'll edit that out then.
Human tests.
What are you talking about? If there is a 0.01% chance that it's better, you should go with it anyways. Besides, you're not using the other 8 channels.
In theory, it's supposed to cut it in half, but I mean, even on the screen, it says like it lowers the latency. But from what I've heard, it doesn't actually change much at all.
Yeah, well, neither does going to 900. But yeah. on that same note, Crossfire's been great for a lot of people, but FreeSky's also, they released their R9 module a while back, and it's open source. OpenTX is open source, so they had some quirks with it in the beginning, but they're starting to smooth that stuff out. They're coming. They just started shipping the other day the new X-Lite transmitter, and it looks like a Xbox controller. I mean, I'm sure that you've all seen it.
I love that.
It looks like an Xbox controller, but it has Hall effect gimbals, which if you've never flown Hall effect gimbals, they're far and large, crazy good. No more brushes on potentiometers. So it comes stock with Hall Effect gimbals. It's $120, and they have an R9, which is their 900 megahertz module that is proprietary that fits into the back. That's coming out also, and then the R9 Mini, I think, receiver that is actually smaller than the Crossfire receiver, smaller and lighter, and it's so they're putting theirs out as an alternative to Crossfire. I know that it seems as if Trappy over at TBS, which we all love Trappy, but I did hear that he was not very happy with it, and he's going to continue forward with helping out Fly Sky, I think, with they have a similar style controller that's coming out. But I digress. The point is that with the X-Lite coming out, it's a form factor that a lot of us who started out playing games are used to from the beginning, and I think that if everyone's going to move to 900 megahertz, if we're going to start continue to race in places like caves and stuff like that, I totally see where that would be useful.
Right.
And it seems like a really good product that's coming down the pipe. So,
I think when I first saw the X-Lite controller, I was very excited just because of the size, right? And it's one of those things where we don't really want to carry around bulky controller, especially if you have a micro, right? Because you have a micro controller and then you have a controller that's literally 3 times its size that you have to carry around. That's not a whole lot of fun. I didn't know that it was actually going to be 900 megahertz. That's the first time I heard about it. So that would be pretty interesting to see.
So there's a module that slides into the back of it. Same as it's the same as like a JR style module that you slap into the back of your Tyrannus. But the stir about it is that they made their own proprietary system where it slides in the back, and it's simply because the physical size of the controller is so much smaller. They had to come out with an R9 Lite version that better fits into the controller, and it looks really sleek and streamlined. And if you haven't seen it, definitely Google that. It's just some of the more interesting tech that has come out recently. I know Lundy can attest to this. We've been talking about a video game controller style coming out for a long time now, and it's finally dropping. So it's exciting.
Yeah, because you have a lot of hand-eye coordination developed with that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think a lot of people have been wanting a controller, a Xbox or PlayStation type controller for a long time. I mean, look at what Rotor X is doing right now with their thing that it basically is like a module that plugs into an Xbox or PlayStation controller, and then you can control, I think right now they're starting off with like a car that you can control with it, which is pretty cool. And I mean, people have been wanting this for a long time. I think this is what the development process looks like. It's actually longer than we think it is. It's a couple of years.
This is the evolution of the radio. This is
now I'm a hybrid pincher, so I probably am not really one for the X-Lite. When I first started out, I was completely thumbs because of what I learned from video games. But since then, I've moved to a hybrid pinch, and it helped me out with my stability in races. But I can see where this makes sense for growing the hobby is a smaller controller like what you would experience with an Xbox controller.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where
it used to be a major expense too. It's $100 basically gets you there. That's crazy. That's one of the things that Free Sky has done excellently, and their downlink has always been solid for me. Even on 2.4, I've never had issues. Never been a member of team
failsafe.
Failsafe, yeah.
Yep. I've never had a failsafe, and now I have one.
Yes, I will say though, the JR module size for the technology that we're using is completely out of date. It's like 80% just open space. It's like we could go with a so much smaller form factor at this point. It would be great. It's just that all of the controller manufacturers have to go to a standardized size. We would all love it because it would shrink everything down. All right, Elvin, are you going to get one of those controllers?
I don't know, man. I'm looking at it, but it's not a positive thing. I'm comfortable where I'm at. I'm a hybrid pincher too, and I like what I got.
You
It
like
Wait
what you
feels
got.
good.
wait till he sees it. Just wait till he sees it.
Yes, exactly.
That's
Somebody's gonna
that,
get it.
that's the thing. That's 100% the thing, man. I got the HD3s. I love them. I think they're fantastic goggles, but I know that once I start trying more people's HDOs, I'll probably get a set of HDOs. It's kind of that thing. It's like once you try it, you may change your mind.
Yeah, so
That
that's actually a good segue. Some of the things that people, it takes a long time. They get comfortable with the equipment that they have, and so it takes a long time to get over to something new. I just want to say that the Immersion RC, the new module that came out, the rapid fire module. I know that most of the people who listen to the podcast has probably seen it. We've all flown Clearview for years. Ever since the Clearview came out, basically, I bought 8 of them like an idiot, and so we all have used them. They've been fantastic, but for the price point and basically the same performance as Clearview, the new rapid fires are awesome. And Tony Cake, the CEO of Immersion RC. We talk all the time. He flew a 7-inch quad into his face earlier today, and it's really funny. Not funny. Sorry, Tony. I didn't mean to out you there. But no, Immersion RC has been doing some amazing stuff, and I think that anybody who's used their VTXs, they stand testament on their own. But anybody who is still using tramps, they're still the standard. It's crazy. But anybody who's like wary of switching over to a new module or doesn't want to spend the money on Clearview, I think that the price is $150 for the rapid fire module, which is less than most of the modules out there right now that perform really well, and it performs as well as the Clearview from testing. And they're also going to come out with a ground station that does the same thing. So I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff coming out from them right now.
Dude, I'm a Clearview guy. I'm a ground station guy, just like Zombie is, and I am excited to try the rapid fire, the module. I mean, because carrying a ground station out is great. I trust it. I love the damn thing. It works perfect every time. I know I can trust it. But if I could have a module in my goggles, that'd be fantastic.
It's very
one that
true.
just works.
Yeah. I mean, I have a LaForge, and LaForge has worked well, but I don't trust it as much as I do with rapid fire.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, I like my LaForge. It's worked well for me, but it's just when I go out to a race, I'm going to set up my Clearview ground station. That's what I'm going to do. I need that, and I will take anything that does a similar performance.
They're using the same style of the digital blending within the rapid fire. They're doing the same thing that the Clearview's doing, and a lot of people who have flown regular modules for years, you can fly through the haze, you can fly through it rolling once or whatever it may be, and actually LaForge has done a great job of cutting that some of that stuff out. But when you see the difference, it still breaks up, but it's a different type of breakup. It doesn't break up in a line. It breaks up in like a sort of a shadow.
It's like a digital breakup almost to me.
Yeah, and you can still fly through it. And it really is. Anybody who hasn't experienced Clearview, now for $150, you can have the exact same thing with the Immersion RC Rapid Fire. And to me, that is that's gonna drop the price of modules across the board. I mean, it's really incredible that they can come out with that technology for such a low price. And kudos to them.
No, I mean, that sounds great to be able to have something that's competitive in this landscape, which I gotta like in 2018, having better receivers finally that are affordable is great because goggles still have not dropped down. I'm sorry, Fat Shark, but can you like drop down your prices a little bit? Come on. It's still really expensive for one of those.
Goggles and batteries.
Goggles
Yep.
and battery. Hey, you know what? Good segue. Let's talk about batteries. Zombie, you want to talk to me about batteries.
Yeah.
There's definitely a transition going on. So tell me about that story.
Okay, so well, number one, the 4S batteries were around for so long, and the community made the shift. I think that that's been discussed ad nauseum. I think that it's interesting. So we won't go there. I think it's interesting to think about right now how what used to be the premium gear, like back only 6 months ago, is now going to be gear for people who are just getting into the hobby, or they're going to lower the prices to unload them or whatever, unless somebody comes out with some supercell 4-cell battery. But one of the things that we've run into is that our supply line for batteries was pretty good. We had a basically through Rotorius, we could get R-line batteries for a good price. And, that was something that was really helping us out. Again, Rotorius FPV, one of our sponsors. But what we're looking for, what we would like to see in the future, especially with success coming on, is, maybe somebody like China Hobby Line or, any of these battery companies that are coming out with success batteries and want to get their batteries out there, want to get people seeing them, want real test results. Because we're back into this R&D phase of what setups work, what's the good weight, what's the good battery capacity. If I keep it under 250 grams, can I use a 1050 milliamp battery? So, we're in that phase again. So what I would like to see in the future, hopefully soon, and I've reached out to a lot of these companies as well, is somebody, picking up Team White Goat as a battery sponsor. We're looking for one. We need one. It's one of the major things that keeps us off of the field is not having batteries to race with. So
I agree.
I know a couple of our guys, they have waited to change over to batteries. A couple of the guys who are really competitive, like the two new guys that we mentioned earlier, they've waited to change over to Success for a while because we've invested all this money, all of our own money into 4S before. We don't have a solid battery sponsor right now, and it's hurt some of our guys' performance in some of the races, I think. And anyway, anybody who knows us, anybody who knows how well we plug things, anybody who knows how well we represent the gear that we run while we're at races, they should be able to attest to the fact that we deserve a battery sponsor at this point, and I'm really reaching out trying to get us one.
No, I completely agree with you in the fact that it's a good time for battery manufacturers, especially some new lines, to get into the market and really kind of be the dominant Success supplier, because it is kind of starting over. Because you notice the traditional 4S brands, they're kind of slow in rolling over to Success, mostly probably because they have excess inventory of 4S, but that's a different story for another day. But I agree with you. There's a lot of testing that needs to be done, and the best people to do it are the teams that are going out there, one, doing team racing, because you're really showing the battery and its capacity to go for a long period of time, and two, you guys are all at the big events, so it's kind of important. Like, for your team right now, how many of them have switched over to Success?
A good 50 to 60% of us at this point, I would guess.
So what has your experience been like transitioning from 4S to Success?
Well, the first Success batteries, the first ones that everybody was buying was for some, bind and fly airplane or whatever that was being sold. And so, people started buying them up. I remember C-Train was one of the first people to let us know about these batteries because they were $10 or $12 or something crazy like that for the Pulse 1050. Pulse 1050s.
It's the ones that are now $30.
Yeah. Oh, here they are. Here they are right here. But then we bought them all up. I mean, all of us bought a whole bunch of them because they were so cheap. and then the prices skyrocketed, and then the tracks got bigger and the motors got bigger, and now these are no longer, you know, with most of the setups we're running, we can no longer use these. So it's a testament to how fast it's progressing forward.
Yeah,
It
I
is
mean,
true.
even with that kind of stuff, like I would love to test like the 1050 with like a 2205. You know, try that out. I don't know if it's going to beat you know, a 1250 with some 2207s. I love the way 2207s feel. They're so thrusty. I love it.
Feel my thrust, bro.
Yeah, feel my thrust. But I would love to test, you know, a 1050 with some 2205s. The problem is I'm not really going to invest that much in that zone, you know, at this point in time, because the 2207s with the 1250s are working for me on the regional final courses right now, the regional qualifiers.
I will say though, you have a good point, because I heard the 1050s were the next big thing, and then literally less than a month, people are saying like 1200s, and going upwards to 15, because multi-GP, big tracks, like Shannon was saying on the finals, you're lucky to get 4 laps. I'm like, what? 4 laps in 2.5 minutes? 4 laps? That's a big track, right? So
I had 8 batteries at Mayhem 2.0, and it was basically like each one of them after each race, I had to throw one of them on the charger, and they were hot. There were hot batteries coming off my quad, and I had to throw them on the charger. And that's how you kill batteries. But so far since then, I have not killed a single 6S pack.
You got to remember too, the original philosophy for 6S was, okay, we're going to go the same speed, but we're going to have higher voltage, so it's going to be lower current draw for the same amount of wattage. So we're no longer going to be killing batteries, and it was this huge, big debate. And you know what? Brain Drain, and I've mentioned him, I think, on the last podcast I was on. Brain Drain, it does an excellent job with testing motors and batteries and stuff. He did exactly what Lundy was talking about with lower kV, smaller motors back when we were running 4S, and showing that you clean up your lines, you can do the same thing. But whenever all this 6S stuff was coming out, he told everybody, as did we, hey, this is going to be the same game. It's going to be the same. The same thing is going to happen, but now batteries are 30% more expensive, to buy, and it's going to keep progressing. I mean, I doubt we're going to go to 8S from here, but
I will say that, like, in the previous 4S type of batteries at this point in the season, I had killed probably half my packs just from overamping them and overdrawing them and all that kind of stuff. So far with the 6S packs, I haven't killed one that way. I've killed them by hitting some stuff, but
poles.
Yeah. But you're running that top mount battery and you got a 70-degree tilt, you're going to hit the battery first. But I mean, so far my batteries have held up throughout the season, and that has impressed me, and that has sold me on 6S for sure, because before in the 4S time frame that I've been running for the past 3 years, I've killed batteries every year all throughout the year. And so far the 6S seem to be holding up. They still come down a little warm. They're not as warm as 4S. We're not overamping them. I mean, I dropped from last year running peak amperage at about 140. And now I'm at about 90 at peak, and typically hanging around the 68 peak range. It just depends on which prop I'm trying out. So I've almost cut that in half, and that's impressive to me.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too, though, to note in all of this is that now, whereas we were all building sub 250 gram quads last year, and we could crash all day long, not bust motors, not break arms. Now we're back up in the 300 grams area, and we're using the frames that are the same as last year, and it's causing stresses on equipment in other areas too. It's a give and take equilibrium, this whole thing that's going on, and I like the change. By the way, I like to change the 6S. I'm not naysaying it, but in that we're running into the same stuff, and these battery manufacturers especially need to catch up and keep 6S in stock, because it's not going away at this point.
No. And like Chief, I think the other day posted in the Pyro Facebook group that his quad all up, I think, is about 600 grams. That's his racing quad. That's what he hit 8 laps on. I mean, it's heavy, but it can still compete, and it definitely does. I mean, 6S changed the ball game, I think, for a lot of us, because I mean, if you're not running 8 laps, you can run your quad for 2 minutes and have a completely fine battery at the end of it, and I think that's impressive.
Now, what is he running right now for batteries? Is he running like a 1200 or is
1250s?
He's 1250s?
Yeah. I mean, right now the only battery you can get, if you can get it, is the Pyro 1250. The R lines.
That's tough.
I mean, if you're going to get an R line, R lines, it just doesn't make sense to me. They're 95C and they're $50. Why would you do that with 6S? You don't need 75C or whatever it is that they're touting on that.
That's one of the clever marketing ploys that when we were doing 4S and we were pushing these, the output, because again the wattage was the same, so we were pulling so hard out of these batteries. Really, I mean, I would love to get a hold of some old cells that are 6S cells, because you're not stressing the battery nearly as hard as you were before to achieve the same wattage. So we don't need 75C, 95C batteries anymore.
What's the C on that 1050? I think it's 65.
Yeah, it is.
And that actually holds 75, and it actually, I mean, I think it holds up very well even for a 1050 at 75C.
I think a lot of battery manufacturers are going to have to figure out how to rebrand or resell. I don't know. I mean, like C-value cell. Let's just admit that, because most people true. Most people don't care. It's like they see the bigger number and they're gonna go with that one, unless it's $50.
Not only that, 75C does not exist. This is not real. This is a 40C battery. I guarantee it.
I've brutaled those batteries right there. Those 1050s, I have murdered them, and they've held up well.
So hot.
Yeah, I mean, you run that on a 2207 300-gram quad and go fly fucking 2 minutes. It's gonna get hot, and you know what? It held up well for what I did to it. And so far, I haven't actually killed a 1050, one of those pulses. I'd killed one of them by hitting a steel pipe, but that's it.
Yeah, I'd like to see a 1250 that is like that has like a true C rating on it, which again, another marketing thing, but Rotor Geeks came out a long time ago with their batteries that had a 40C true C rating. But I'd like to see a 1250 with some thin cells that doesn't weigh 300 grams. Maybe is even a little bit less, not quite as wide or whatever.
How would you feel about a longer battery? Because I held a 1250 Heli battery this past weekend. That was a little bit longer. It was more like our 1800s, the old tattoos that were long.
Yeah.
I mean, I could fit that on the top of, I think, a couple quads.
By the way, torque frame is what most of us are running, and we're getting those through FP Venture, which is another one of our sponsors. So what we're talking about is top mounting our batteries on these, and this is typical for a top mount setup. And if you can see, your 6S and these 1050s, they fit pretty good. But yeah, I agree. Something that's a little longer, maybe not quite as wide. I think that we're going to start to see some different form factors for batteries for sure. And I think dream setup again is stop concentrating on trying to make it 75C, make it adequate, give us some different size cells and a little bit lighter. These things are out of control heavy.
Yeah, I'd like to see a mix between. I'd like to see options. I'd like to see the longer packs for some of us that can run it, but also the square packs that Tattoo was doing last year with the 4S game. I wouldn't mind seeing that. The square packs were great. Those 1550 square packs that they had were awesome for guys that needed that small space. That if you don't have either top or bottom, you don't have that room that you could run the pack wherever you needed to.
Okay, so this is a Tattoo. This is a 4S 95C 1550. Okay, so I mean the capacity is way larger, but it is the exact same size as this 6S 1050, and these are again old cells, because this was a battery that came out last year and just didn't sell well. And if they're gonna, I know that people are gonna do it, are gonna change form factors and stuff like that, but there's a little bit of room to make this 200 milliamp hour more and maintain a similar size. Whereas like the 1300s and stuff that are coming out, the cells, I mean, they're taking the exact same approach as these, trying to put really, really high output cells on these batteries, and it's just increasing the size a little bit too much, I believe.
No, I think there's a good argument to be made, and this is something that teams like you guys can test, which is reduce the sea level, lower the weight, you're going to end up being faster. And that's something that needs to be tested. And the only way to do that is to really go out there and grind out some laps and get that feedback. And then the more important thing, tell the world that this is true, because the marketing hype is real, and sometimes the truth gets a little drowned by the marketing hype.
You got to document it.
You got to tell Bardwell to put out a video.
Oh God!
YouTube celebrities, they work.
I'm glad that he does it. Look, Bardwell. If it wasn't for Bardwell, we wouldn't be where we are now. I really believe that. And if he believes in something, and I don't know what his theory on this is, but if he wants to get together with Team White Goat, we're both in Tennessee, and we can test this theory, then we definitely should. And I think that when you consider unloading with the weight on the top of the quad or bottom, respectively, and everything, we can deal with lower C batteries and have lighter and cheaper batteries as well.
It's a very interesting topic, because it's going to be like the big thing this year for MultiGP is like who actually can create the dream setup, which is the perfect frame, motor, battery combination, in which it's going to be able to complete those 8 laps and not kill your battery.
Yeah. And that was the same thing that we went through for the past, 2 years with MultiGP, all of us flying 4S. So all the newcomers, I know that it seems stressful, but hey, those of us that have been around for a while, this is exactly what happens whenever there's a paradigm shift in a spec for racing.
Which I got to say, I mean, right now, I think with the 1722 to 1750 range of motors, you could do 8 laps, but you're going to kill batteries. It's just going to happen. But for that 6 to 7, you're fine. And I think from 99% of pilots, that's a perfect middle ground, and that's going to work.
That's kind of interesting you say that. In order to be at the top, like the top 5 to 10%, you're pretty much relegated to killing batteries. That's terrible.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think if you're going to kill, so far, I don't think you need to kill a battery on 6S with a 1700 kV battery, with the 1700 kV motor. I think what he said is right, though. If you're running for that 8, it's different.
But everybody's pushing for the 8, though. That's the whole point.
Right. Who's gonna push for that 8? You really have to look at who's pushing for it, and those guys are gonna kill batteries no matter what.
Hey, do you remember people exploding 4S batteries down in the cave last year, but to overcharge them? It's the same game.
Yeah, one of them owns Pyro Flip.
I wasn't gonna name anybody. Hey, kids, charge your batteries safely.
Serge will admit to that. That was an amazing explosion, and I was impressed. But that was, and some of his pilots have done that since then. But either way, you cannot charge a battery 4.9 or whatever the hell they were charging it to. I think for some of this stuff, you got to overcharge your pack a little bit. But I think over 4.35 or whatever is way too much. And
like overcharging the 2S.
Yeah. I overcharge my 2S batteries all the time, right?
Me too.
There's sarcasm implied there.
Yeah, I was like, what? What are you guys talking about? Okay. It's clearly too late, and we need to start wrapping up.
Mine are HVs, though.
But I will say this, though. If anybody's interested in sponsoring this team, I would wholeheartedly endorse them. They are always fun to be with. They are loud and they are well known when they go to their races.
Yeah, we try to represent the whole hobby in a positive light. And again, most of the people who know us well, and most of the people who have been around us know that it's fun for us, and we try to make it fun for everyone else. We have a really good community outreach here in Memphis, and we try to do a really good job to be conducive to surrounding chapters that want to come here and want to race in our races. And we're very open and accepting to anybody in the community, even if you badmouthed us, it doesn't matter. We just want to race and have fun just like everyone else. It just so happens that we're so much better than everyone else at doing it.
He was doing such a great job till the very end, and then it goes right off the cliff.
I got confused for a second. I forgot where I was.
That was good. I like that. All right, let's start wrapping up. We'll start with Zombie first. Zombie, if people want to reach out to you, where can they reach out to you?
Yeah, honestly, the best place to reach to get to me is going to be on my Instagram, Zombie Diesel.
How do you spell that, though?
Yeah, DOMBIEDIESEL. Okay, one word. But no, in all honesty, if anyone can feel free to reach out to me there. I've helped so many people with, their first setups or whatever it may be. If there's anybody out there that just feels overwhelmed by the 630 pages of RC groups that you have to flip through, we've been doing it for a long time, and anybody can DM me or direct message me or make a post and tag me in it, whatever it may be. I love hearing from the community anyway. So they can find me there. Again, I want to shout out to Rotorex, to Immersion RC, Tony Cake. He was actually just on a couple of Bardwell videos recently. That guy is phenomenal. He will also be at the International Open, and anyone that sees him there can go up and talk to him. He's hilarious.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He is a clown.
We've also got Rotorius FPV and FP Venture that are helping us out where they can as well. Both of them are team members, and we've had really good luck so far with the companies that have helped us progress to this point, and I hope that they feel that we're feeding back just as much to them, because we really have the companies that we have that are working with us make really, really good gear. And we wouldn't stand behind anything that we think is not good. So, that's sort of how we are. We always speak the truth as far as we can.
Cool.
That's things I like about you, brothers.
That's right. Lundy, what do you got? Where can people find you?
Lundy FPV on Instagram and YouTube, and Alec Lunsford on Facebook. Which 901 FPV, all that kind of stuff. We're a multi-GP chapter, 901 FPV. We have a Facebook group for Team White Goat as well. So Team White Goat, we got a lot of likes this week because somebody found us who is a big fan of Team Black Sheep. Which, like I said, we all respect Team Black Sheep. We all run Team Black Sheep gear, but somebody found us in Team Black Sheep and posted in their chat or in their group and was like, "Who is this?" Whoa. And a bunch of guys were defending us and all that kind of stuff. So,
shout out to Team Canada for stepping in there.
Team Canada, hell yeah! Thank you, Team Canada, for stepping in, because they were like, Team White Goat, those dudes have been around forever and they're fast, So thank you, Team Canada. You guys are awesome. I always love hanging out with the Team Canada guys. Ready to see them at the IO and race against them.
Brian, I'm coming for you.
Yeah, buddy. Ready to do it. We'll see you at MBX again, too, for sure. Same sponsors as Zombie just mentioned. We're a team, so we get the same sponsors. Thank you guys always for helping us out and keeping us in the air, because without it, keeping this many guys in the air and traveling, because we travel a lot. I mean, we've been to 6 qualifiers already, all around the area, and because of those guys, that's made it possible. So, thank you.
That's a lot of qualifiers to be at, which is pretty cool, to be honest with you, too.
It's it's fun. I mean, a lot of people, like, I don't know why, but some people take it as like we're only going to go to the ones that this one or that one. But man, I have so much fun on these trips. It has been so much fun to me. I mean, that's where we get half the great ideas and the stupid stuff we come up with is on these trips. It's like we build better relations with our own team, even though we fly together on a weekly basis. But when we come back from like a trip, we come back with great ideas and things we want to do, and that to me is part of the reason that I do these trips. But that's just us, and I'm excited for the next thing we do, which will probably be we're going to go down to Huntsville for their qualifier. They're having a doubleheader in a couple weeks. We're going to come down and do that. Alex is going to make it out to that one hopefully and get his numbers in. He's been working his butt off this year and hasn't been able to qualify. I will say that he came out to the field one day this year and brought his Vortex and hit a 21 on the track, which was nuts. Like, I hadn't seen him because he's been working 80 hours a week and nothing. And I was joking. I was like, he hasn't even been working. What he's been doing is sitting there flying in his backyard and messing with us, acting like he hasn't been working. So he comes out here and he hits a 21, then I think you got like a 19 at some point.
Yeah, I was down in the 19s.
Before you left on a Vortex, which blew my mind because we're all running these high-powered 6S, quads, and he's flying 4S and just keeping up with us. It blew my mind, I'll tell you right now. So hopefully he can make it out to that. I mean, his work seemed like crazy, so hopefully he can make it down to that one, and we have a good time. And then we're going to go to the finals there a couple weeks after that. So we have at minimum 7 guys that are going to that. So we'll be in Huntsville again, I think June 30th and July 1st.
Yeah, hey, anybody listening or who listens to this before Memorial Day weekend all the way through to the following weekend, I'm going to be down in Orange Beach. So anybody from South to Central Alabama, holler at me if you want to fly, or if any races are going on that aren't posted on MultiGP, I'll have my gear with me.
That's our region too, so you can get qualified.
Yeah,
Pick them boys up.
I was looking for a qualifier down there. I'm so surprised that there's no Memorial Day races down there, not posted anyway.
I don't know. Maybe some will show up. Okay, so wrapping up real quick.
Yeah, and why it's time to let the cat out of the bag. Let everybody know that you are my real father. And, Dad, I know that this is awkward for you, but I just think that everybody, they need to know. Okay. So, I love you, Dad, and I miss you, and I wish you wouldn't have given me away when you did.
Son, the only thing I'm going to say is that if you don't qualify, I'm disowning you a second time.
Oh, you don't have to worry about that.
You're going to have to watch the YouTube to see the family resemblance, too. It's great.
Dude, he's like twice my size. It's hilarious when we sit together. All right, we are out for the week. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys so much for having us.
Okay, thanks, brothers.